The first thing I noticed when I entered the Meridian Crown Gala was not the chandeliers. It was the arrogance. It hung in the air thicker than the perfume, sharper than the champagne bubbles rising in crystal flutes. Around me, millionaires laughed too loudly. Socialites tilted their diamonds toward the cameras, and executives whispered like kings, dividing up a kingdom they did not truly own. My name is Nerissa Cole. I was 48 years old, dressed in a midnight blue gown, and seated exactly where I was supposed to be, the front VIP table. Seat number 1. In front of me rested a white card printed in silver letters. Nerissa Cole, Strategic Capital Partner. That card was not just a name tag. It was the quiet doorway to a private capital transfer that could decide whether Harrington Global Holdings survived the year or bled out before summer. Beside me, my assistant, Mara Quinn, leaned close. "They're watching us," she whispered. "Good," I said, placing my phone face down beside my plate. "Then they'll see everything clearly." That was when Damon Harrington arrived. If you're curious, the spoiled heir who thought one VIP seat mattered more than $1 billion deal, please like this video. Soon, he would learn exactly whose name he had stepped on. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? And what time is it there? Now let's see what he'll do. The boss's only son walked toward me, with a smirk that looked inherited, not earned. On his arm was a young woman, in a glittering champagne dress, her eyes already fixed on my chair, as if it had been promised to her by birthright. Damon stopped beside me. "This seat is taken." I lifted my eyes. "Correct. I'm sitting in it." His smile turned cold. "It's for my girlfriend. Move to the regular section." Then, before the room could breathe, he snatched my name card, let it fall to the marble floor, and slowly crushed it beneath his polished shoe. The music kept playing, but at my table, something had just died. Before I continue, I want to make one thing clear. This story is fictional, inspired by real workplace situations. Some elements were supported by artificial intelligence to make the story more vivid and emotionally engaging. I hope you can feel the deeper lessons this story has to offer. Now, let's continue. Damon's girlfriend let out a small laugh, the kind people use when they expect the room to laugh with them. No one did, for one strange second. The entire front section of the ballroom seemed to forget how to breathe. A champagne glass paused halfway to someone's lips. A senator's wife turned her head. 2 men from the investment committee lowered their voices and stared at the white card trapped beneath Damon Harrington's shoe. Mara shot to her feet. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the violin music. Damon did not even look at her. He only pulled the chair slightly away from the table, as if preparing a throne for the woman beside him. "Relax," he said. "It's just a seat." That was his first mistake, thinking it was just a seat. I bent down slowly and picked up the card from the marble floor. The silver letters were smeared where his heel had dragged across my name. I brushed the dust from the edge with 2 fingers, straightened my shoulders, and placed the card back on the table exactly where it had been. Nerissa Cole, Strategic Capital Partner. Then I looked at him, not angrily. Anger would have made him feel important. I looked at him with the calm patience of a woman watching a man sign his own downfall without reading the document. "You should not have done that." "I said," Damon laughed loudly, trying to pull the room back onto his side. "What are you going to do? Complain to security?" His girlfriend smiled behind him. "This is my father's gala," Damon added. "My family owns this room." I rested one hand beside my phone and lowered my voice just enough that the people filming nearby leaned closer. "No," I said. "Your family rents this room with money it does not have." His smile flickered. "What you just did," I continued, "cost your mother exactly $1.3 billion. For the first time." Damon Harrington stopped laughing. His silence lasted only a moment, but it was long enough for the people nearest us to notice. Then Damon's face hardened, not with fear, but with the wounded pride of a man who had never been corrected in public. "You're insane," he said. "Let's ask my mother." He lifted his phone and pressed a button with theatrical confidence. "Mother, come to the front VIP table. There's a woman here pretending to be important." The crowd shifted before she even arrived. Celeste Harrington entered the room like she expected the chandeliers to lower themselves in respect. She wore a silver gown, a diamond collar, and the expression of someone who had mistaken wealth for judgment. Conversations died around her as she approached. "What is going on?" she asked. Damon pointed at me like a child showing a broken toy. "She won't move. Bianca needs this seat." Celeste's eyes passed over me quickly, carelessly. She did not read the name card. She did not ask for my invitation. She did not recognize the woman her office had begged for 6 weeks to attend this gala. Mara stepped forward. "Mrs. Harrington, Ms. Cole is your confirmed strategic capital partner. We have documentation from your office." Celeste raised one hand, cutting her off as if Mara were background noise. "I will not have a scene tonight," she said coldly. "This section is for approved guests only." "I am approved," I said. Her mouth tightened. "Security!" 2 guards near the velvet rope moved at once. Damon smiled, slow and pleased. Bianca touched his arm as if he had just won her something precious. "Please escort this woman out through the side entrance," Celeste said. Quietly. The guards stopped beside me. I stood before either of them could touch my chair. I placed my name card back on the table one last time and looked directly at Celeste. "You will not remember this as the night you protected your gala," I said softly. "You will remember it as the final moment your family controlled Harrington Global Holdings." Then I turned away. Mara followed me so quickly that the hem of her black dress brushed against the velvet rope. Behind us, the ballroom tried to recover its rhythm. The violins continued, glasses touched, laughter returned in small, nervous pieces, as if the room was trying to convince itself that nothing important had happened. But the sound had changed. It was thinner now, forced. At the front, VIP table. Damon was already pulling out the chair for Bianca. She lowered herself into it with a victorious little smile. Smoothing her dress over her knees, Celeste remained standing for a moment, chin lifted, pretending she had restored order. She had no idea she had just destroyed it. As we walked toward the side corridor, one of the guards kept close behind us. He was not rough, but he was careful, as if escorting a problem that might still embarrass his employer. Mara's face was pale with anger. "Nerissa," she whispered. "Please tell me we are not letting them get away with this." I did not slow down. "They already got away with it," I said. For about 30 seconds, the golden doors opened before us, and the noise of the gala spilled into the hallway behind me one last time. Flashbulbs, music, expensive laughter, the whole beautiful performance. Then the doors closed. Silence fell like a verdict. I took my phone from my clutch and looked at the screen. The final authorization page was still open. Harrington Global Holdings had been waiting for one thing from me that evening: confirmation of a private capital release large enough to stabilize their debts, protect their expansion, and quiet the lenders already circling their balance sheet. One touch from my finger could have saved them. Instead, I locked the screen. Mara looked at me, understanding dawning slowly in her eyes. "They don't know," she said. "No," I replied, walking toward the exit. "They think they removed a woman from a chair." Outside, the night air was cold against my face. I stepped into the waiting car and looked back at the glowing hotel. They removed the money, across the city. Adrian Voss was trapped in the back seat of a black town car, staring at traffic that refused to move. Adrian was not a guest looking for champagne and compliments. He was the chief investment officer for Malcolm Voss, Harrington Global Holdings' largest private shareholder. More importantly, he was the only man connected to the Harrington side who had personally met me twice, reviewed my terms, and knew exactly what I looked like. His phone had been ringing for 10 minutes. "Call Celeste again." He snapped at his driver. No answer. He tried Damon. No answer. Then he called the gala coordinator. A young woman finally picked up, her voice bright and nervous. Mr. Voss, the evening is going beautifully. Mrs. Harrington is with the VIP guests right now. Has Nerissa Cole arrived? Adrian asked. There was a pause. Oh, the coordinator said. There was a woman causing trouble near the front table earlier. Mrs. Harrington handled it. Security escorted her out through the side entrance. The blood drained from Adrian's face. What woman? I'm not sure. Middle-aged, dark blue dress. With an assistant. She said something about capital. But Mr. Harrington's son said she was taking his girlfriend's seat. Adrian closed his eyes, for one terrible second. The traffic outside, the horns, the city lights, everything disappeared. You removed Nerissa Cole from the gala. The coordinator's voice became smaller. I believe Mrs. Harrington did. At that exact moment, Adrian's second phone vibrated on his lap. It was a secure notice from the private banking portal. Capital release suspended. Commitment amount $1.3 billion. Reason counterparty breach of dignity and conduct clause. Adrian stared at the screen, as if the words might rearrange themselves into mercy. They did not. Turn the car around, he said. The driver looked back. To the hotel number, Adrian said, his voice breaking into panic. To Ms. Cole's residence. Now? Then another message appeared. From Mara Quinn. The transfer is dead. Do not call her again. By morning, Harrington Global Holdings had already begun rewriting the story. In the executive conference room, Celeste Harrington stood at the head of the table beneath a wall-sized screen displaying the company's expansion forecast. Her posture was perfect. Her voice was controlled. Her smile was the kind executives wear when they are lying to people who are too frightened to challenge them. There was a minor misunderstanding at the gala, she said. Nothing more. No one at the table spoke. Damon sat 2 chairs away, scrolling on his phone with the bored expression of a man waiting for praise. Every now and then, he smirked at something on the screen. Probably a message from Bianca congratulating him for protecting her precious seat. Celeste continued. Our capital schedule remains unchanged. The transfer is proceeding through normal private channels, downstairs. In the finance division, nobody believed that anymore. The chief financial officer, Roland Pierce, stood before 3 monitors, his tie loosened, his face damp with sweat, on the screen. The release status had not moved. No confirmation code, no disbursement marker, no final investor authorization from Nerissa Cole. Refresh it again. He ordered. A junior analyst clicked the page. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. The room was silent, except for keyboards and the low hum of panic. $1.3 billion had been listed in their projections like oxygen. It supported bridge loans, vendor guarantees, acquisition deposits, and the public illusion that Harrington Global Holdings was stronger than its debts. Without that money, the company was not expanding. It was exposed. Roland picked up the phone and called Adrian Voss. No answer. He called Mara Quinn, straight to voicemail. He tried my office line. The call rang once, then disconnected. Upstairs. Celeste was still speaking confidently about reputation, control, and optics. Damon leaned back and whispered to another executive. People are so dramatic. She was just some bitter woman looking for attention. But at the far end of the table, one board member looked down at his phone and went pale. The money had not arrived, and silence was becoming evidence. By the second day, the story could no longer be controlled by confident voices in glass conference rooms. Every call from Harrington Global Holdings met the same wall. My office did not answer. Mara did not answer. My legal team acknowledged receipt of their messages and said nothing more. That was when fear began moving through the building faster than any official memo. Roland Pierce stood in the finance division, with both hands pressed against the edge of his desk. The screens in front of him showed frozen numbers, delayed approvals, and payment queues waiting for liquidity that no longer existed. A company can survive bad headlines. It can survive one angry investor. But it cannot survive pretending money is coming when the banking system already knows it is not. We need the release code. A senior analyst said. Roland stared at him. There is no release code. The room went still. Upstairs, Celeste finally lost patience during an emergency board check-in. This is absurd. She snapped. We are not going to lose $1 billion capital arrangement because of a seating issue at a gala. Damon leaned forward, eager to support the lie. Exactly. She was embarrassed. That is all. Give her a day to cool off. No one laughed. No one nodded. Even the people who depended on the Harrington name could feel the floor shifting beneath them. Adrian Voss entered the room late. His suit wrinkled from a sleepless night. His face told the truth before his mouth did. Ms. Cole has not responded to direct contact, he said. Her office has declined every request for a meeting. Celeste folded her arms. Then go to her house. I did. The room turned toward him. She would not receive me. For the first time. Celeste's confidence cracked. Across the company, vendors began requesting payment assurances. Lenders asked for updated collateral statements. Project managers paused expansion schedules they had been celebrating 48 hours earlier. The empire had not fallen yet, but every machine inside it had begun to stop. The proof arrived without warning. It did not come through a newspaper, a court filing, or a carefully prepared shareholder report. It arrived as a private link, forwarded from one banker to another, then from one board member to 3 more. Moving through the financial district with the speed of blood and water, the subject line was simple. The real price of a seat at the Harrington table. Malcolm Voss opened it inside his private office on the 42nd floor. With Adrian standing behind him and 3 board members connected by secure video. At first, the screen showed the glittering ballroom, the violins, the champagne, the smiling guests who still believed they were attending a celebration. Then the camera shifted toward the front VIP table. Damon's voice came through clearly. This seat is for my girlfriend. Malcolm's expression did not change, but his hand tightened around the edge of the desk. The video showed my name card. Nerissa Cole, Strategic Capital Partner. Then Damon picked it up, dropped it to the marble floor, and pressed his shoe into it as if he were crushing something worthless. No one in Malcolm's office spoke. The video continued. Celeste appeared, elegant and cold, dismissing Mara's explanation without reading the card, without checking the guest list, without taking even 5 seconds to ask why I was seated there. Then came the order to security. Then my final warning. Then my exit. When the screen froze on my face, Malcolm finally whispered, Dear God. Adrian's voice was low. It is her. One of the board members removed his glasses and covered his eyes. The video needed no commentary. It showed exactly what Harrington Global Holdings had become under Celeste's rule polished on the outside. Rotten with entitlement underneath. It was not merely a mistake. It was evidence of judgment so poor that no lender, partner, or investor could ignore it. By noon, the link had reached creditors. By 3, major partners had seen it. By evening, the Harrington name no longer sounded powerful. It sounded radioactive. The formal notice arrived the next morning at 8:17. It was not dramatic. That made it worse. No shouting, no threats, no emotional language. Just a clean, clinical document from my legal office confirming that the private capital commitment to Harrington Global Holdings had been permanently withdrawn. The amount was listed in black ink. $1.3 billion. No delayed release. No revised schedule. No emergency bridge. No opportunity to renegotiate under the current leadership structure. Gone. Roland Pierce read the notice twice before his knees seemed to weaken. He lowered himself into his chair as if the air had been removed from the room. This is not a delay, he said quietly. This is collapse. Within an hour, every major project linked to the expected capital infusion was frozen. Acquisition deposits were suspended. Vendor guarantees were revoked. Construction contracts were placed on hold. Expansion teams that had been celebrating new markets 3 days earlier were suddenly ordered to stop all external commitments. Phones began ringing across the building. Lenders wanted collateral updates. Partners wanted reassurance. Suppliers wanted advance payment. No one had good answers. Celeste tried to call it a pressure tactic, but nobody believed her anymore. Not after the video, not after the notice, not after Malcolm Voss ordered a full internal freeze on all non-essential spending. By midday, employees were whispering in elevators. By afternoon, department heads were canceling travel, delaying payroll discussions, and locking conference rooms for emergency meetings. The company did not fall with one explosion. It began folding inward, floor by floor, signature by signature, denial by denial. Damon finally appeared in the lobby just after 4. He was not smiling. He stood near the marble staircase, watching 2 senior executives rush past him without greeting him. A woman from investor relations was crying into her phone. Security officers moved boxes of confidential files toward the legal department on the large screen above reception. Harrington Global's stock-linked debt indicators flashed red. Bianca was nowhere beside him now, for the first time in his life. Damon Harrington looked at a chair and understood its price. He had not insulted a guest. He had detonated his family's empire. Malcolm Voss did not ask for another explanation. He asked for a way out. The meeting happened in a private room above the city, far from cameras, champagne, and the ruined glitter of the gala. Adrian sat beside him, pale from 3 days without sleep. Across from them, I folded my hands on the table and listened while they described the damage I already understood. When Malcolm finished, he said, "What will it take for the capital to return?" I looked at him calmly. "Harrington Global Holdings can be saved," I said, "but not by the people who proved they could destroy it over a chair." The condition was simple. Celeste Harrington would be removed from executive authority. Damon Harrington would be erased from succession. Every senior officer who protected the lie, ignored the warning, or enabled the arrogance would resign or face investigation. Malcolm did not argue. By sunrise, the board voted. Celeste's name disappeared from the CEO suite. Damon was stripped of influence before he could shout his first objection. The old leadership collapsed behind closed doors, not with dignity, but with paperwork. My capital returned, but it returned to a different company. I never sat again at that VIP table. I did not need to. They had taken my seat for one night. In the end, I owned the table. That was my story. But what about you? Have you ever been disrespected, underestimated, or pushed aside by someone who thought their title made them untouchable? Share your story with me in the comments. I truly want to hear what happened to you. What stays with me most is not the money they lost, but the respect they refused to give. Through this story, I learned 5 lessons. First, never judge someone by their appearance, age, or quiet behavior, because the calmest person in the room may hold the strongest position. Second, arrogance can destroy in minutes what others spent years building. Third, dignity is not something we beg for. It is something we protect. Fourth, when people underestimate us, silence can sometimes be more powerful than anger. Fifth, true power is not about taking someone's seat, but knowing your own value even when others try to push you aside. What about you? Did you learn a lesson of your own from this story? Share it in the comments, because your experience may encourage someone else who needs strength today. And if this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it so we can spread this reminder together.
Welcome to Boardroom Revenge Stories, a channel focused on workplace conflict, corporate betrayal, power struggles, and quiet justice. Our stories follow a structured workflow to deliver a consistent, immersive experience. We start by analyzing real discussions on Reddit, Facebook, Quora, and blogs. Next, we craft original scripts using AI tools like ChatGPT. We then use 11 Labs to transform text into high-quality voice and edit everything in CapCut for a smooth, cinematic finish. Thumbnails are designed with Canva, and every video is carefully reviewed before release. These stories go beyond entertainment, revealing how power truly works and how justice quietly unfolds.